Just ahead on One Detroit, we're bringing you some of our favorite stories on local creative artists. Coming up, a documentary about a Michigan family's efforts to keep their restaurant afloat during the pandemic and in the midst of political backlash. Plus, an artistic presentation inspired by the stories of survivors in Japanese internment camps. Also ahead, we'll introduce you to a dance troupe that's preserving Mexican tradition. And we'll close with a performance rooted in African culture. It's all coming up next on One Detroit.
From Delta faucets to Behr paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Support for this program is provided by the Cynthia and Essa Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV, the Kresge Foundation.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you.
Just ahead on this week's One Detroit, a special Best Of edition focusing on the creative works of Michigan artists. Coming up, Asian American artists tell the stories of Japanese internment camp survivors in an emotional performance piece. Plus, we'll show you how a Southwest Detroit dance troupe is keeping the longtime Mexican custom of folkloric dancing alive. And the Temate Institute for Black Dance and Culture delivers a traditional African performance. But first up, a documentary titled Bad Acts tells the story of an Asian Mexican-American family trying to hold on to their restaurant business during the pandemic. The film is set in the rural community of Bad Axe, Michigan, and chronicles the family's struggles during COVID restrictions and a rise in racial tensions. One Detroit's Bill Kubota spoke with the filmmaker David Siev and his parents, who were the focus of the documentary.
They wanted ketchup with your kids' tenders. Okay. They want ranch, and then you just need a kids' quesadilla, right?
Okay, is it busy right now?
We're actually not super busy right now, but we're not used to doing this many takeout orders, so it's a bit of a learning curve.
This could have been a restaurant anywhere 2 years ago, a takeout assembly line.
There are now more than 1,000 confirmed cases of coronavirus here in Michigan.
Bars, restaurants, coffee shops, all ordered by Governor Whitmer to stop normal business to prevent the spread.
The surge in hate crimes against Asian Americans only getting
A town of 3,000 surrounded by the flatlands of Michigan's thumb, 2 hours north of Detroit up M53. Now a documentary film named after that town. In Bad Axe, a family restaurant called Rachel's. When COVID hit, some of Rachel's family came back to help. Daughter Jacqueline and son David, U of M grad and filmmaker.
If you're not an essential business, you need to close, and you need to protect your employees.
When making Bad Axe, I always said I wanted to share my family's story even before I started shooting it. And I always thought I would share this story of a Cambodian refugee.
Show it to the camera like this.
They have to have that talk of unemployment.
And, a Mexican-American woman, like these two individuals who built their American dream here in Bad Axe, Michigan.
Here's a picture of Rachel with our children, Jacqueline and Michelle, our baby at the time, David. Here's the 3 kids standing in front of the front entrance. Didn't take a whole lot to keep the children happy. Just tell them this is gonna be our future donut shop.
The donut shop would become Rachel's restaurant.
When I moved back home from New York during COVID and just picked up my camera and began filming.
David, why are you filming me right now?
I got a lot of free time.
David having the camera in his hands is not something new. It was something that, he's always walking around with his camera. But to get moments that were kind of, very personal.
Bad Axe is probably a lot safer than New York right now. It's probably a good thing you guys got out when you did. But it's crazy to think that literally 1 week ago we were on a cruise ship. And now, like, things are, like, starting to get really bad.
The filmmaker's family willing participants for the most part.
I think he was also like very respectful because when I did really ask him to stop, he did. But he also didn't sometimes too. So I don't know. It just, I guess that's what makes a really good film.
We are. Yes, we will wear masks, glasses, gloves. We know. We're not stupid, Jacqueline.
You have high blood pressure. 3/4 of the people that have died, 3/4.
The way this documentary, came together, it was very unexpected. I had no plans or intention of making a documentary. That's just the way it unfolded. So
I was taking orders, Jack. That's not.
You're wasting more time.
No, you are, Mom.
The film is shown everybody, not just in this town, but everywhere across the country, even in the world, what a family going through.
The carry-out, dine-out option is still something that is available to people. This is an essential service, which is the feeding of the people of our state.
Obviously out of everybody's control. It reminds me of when we literally, we're just struggling to survive, trying to make money off of donuts.
Through Bad Acts, we relived 2020 all over again, our lives during lockdown. The film, a collective history for all of us, like when One Detroit checked on Roseville restaurant owner Steve Morse, who'd been checking in regularly with the governor.
Well, what do you think she's going to do?
When can customers eat in again? COVID cases up? Will she shut him down again? At One Detroit, we heard the fear and uncertainty over in Clawson.
We're all scared that we're going to run out of money. We're scared that people are not going to come in. We're scared that too many of them are going to try to come in.
I wear a mask and a shield while I'm teaching.
The masks and the politics that came with them.
Well, I had one on before. I wore one in this back area, but I didn't want to give the press the pleasure of seeing it.
It was the same year George Floyd was killed by Minneapolis police.
I'm Mandy Wright. I'm live right now, right next to the Marriott. Police are in riot gear, pushing protesters back.
Night after night in Detroit, rallies, skirmishes, arrests.
There's a line of protesters making a human change.
So many other Black Lives Matter protests that summer. In the suburbs, even in conservative Bad Acts, a memorable scene in the documentary.
I feel like one of the reasons why my parents were able to make the restaurant successful is because they assimilated in the way that people expect them to. Come to work, get your stuff done, don't open your mouth, don't say too much, make sure you don't speak up too loud. My parents are good at biting their tongue, but I don't think I can be that way.
Hello. Hey. Hello, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
It's so weird having this happen in this environment. Like, I'm more comfortable, I guess, in Ann Arbor at a Black Lives Matter protest versus being in Bad Acts at a Black Lives Matter protest.
In the 2016 election, I voted for Donald Trump. I had been surrounding myself with very conservative Republican people, families, friends, and it took me a really long time to realize what type of a person he truly is. I really dug deep into my soul and thought, I can be my own person. This will be the first step that I've taken publicly. I'll be able to look back on it one day and tell my children, it takes every ounce of your soul to stand up for what's right, even if your family doesn't agree with you.
A couple small incidents that we have seen in the film, during the Black Lives Matter protesting with my daughter, my really outspoken daughter, Jacqueline, get tangled up, should I say it, with those three men that are, fully armed, come in there, try to intimidate everybody. At the time, it seems like, wait a minute, the town judging us in the wrong way to say, you know what, your kid the one that started a problem with these armed men. No, these not an armed men. These just a man that have a really bad intention. Now, if anybody in the town support those men, they have some problem. And it made me really proud when I see that film, that my children actually stand up, again, for what is right and what is wrong.
Chun Siev's immigration story at the forefront of the film.
I close this and play down and burn it right down.
Exactly, just out of spite because you're a child.
That's right.
The stress of the pandemic, but how much is connected to the trauma suffered a half-century ago escaping the Cambodian killing fields?
This is the last place that I saw my father.
Despite it all, Chun and his family thrive in 2020. You'll need to watch to the end as they look back with gratitude to the people in their town.
Honestly, our town supported all of our restaurants, not just ours, but all of them. Hello, Rachel's a Bad Eggs. How may I help you? I cannot thank our community enough for that. I mean, they helped all of us.
You guys rock, man.
It's usually like coastal stories, right, of like what's going on in New York or LA. But with Bad X, like it's a whole other part of America that so many people in our country are a part of that community. And so when you're seeing our family go through this, you have to think about all the other families in all these other small towns that are just like Bad X across the Midwest. People seeing their own experiences represented on the big screen through our family.
An archive of oral history interviews with survivors of Japanese internment camps was used to create a moving performance called Invisible Embrace at the Ann Arbor Public Library last year. The show was produced by a group of AAPI artists. Producer Sarah Smith sat down with one of the creatives behind the project, Amber Kao, to find out more about the performance and its impact on audiences.
I think art is unique in that it is an automatic platform. Art offers that space and opportunity to bring awareness. Island is essentially a collective of Asian American artists. There are movers, poets, digital designers, musicians. We love to collaborate with all facets of art and design. The collaborators for Invisible Embrace, we worked with, there were 3 dancers, so myself and then Chi Shen Lin and Catherine Hepler, and the sound installation was by Juwon Park, and the music and set design was by Chen An Ren. What kind of pushed us into this space of Invisible Embrace? It was actually just very unexpectedly, we came across an archive of oral life history interviews with Japanese American internment survivors.
Well, when we were very little, at age 5.
Chen is our music director, set designer, and he found these oral interviews. This did stem from, there was a lot of Asian hate crimes going on at the time, and it just really resonated, I think, with him and with myself once he shared it with us. Their history, their stories, how they are survivors, their trauma, and just their willingness and openness to share that through their interviews. And we were just saying, we got to use this somehow, so we decided to kind of use that as our focal point.
And they gathered the children. I can't remember how many of us there were.
Juwon Park, another one of our collaborators, he is, I would say, a sound innovator. His theories are that there is sound in the air, sound in the space that we cannot hear, but it takes the correct pickups, the correct instruments to draw out of the air. So we wanted to incorporate that in that, these stories are there, whether we see them or not, they're always here. And we wanted the act of drawing them out is what we wanted to incorporate into our piece. So there was a pickup and there are copper wires. And so we were using these stories, these interviews, and we were running them through the wires. And then the pickups, we would manipulate the pickups. So if they're in a close enough distance, these stories would be heard. But if you're far away from the pickup and the wire, or too far away, you won't hear anything. And I think it's reflective of how, these stories are there, but you have to be intentional to listen and hear and, to process all of it.
We seemed to hit it off all right at first, so I said, okay.
Part of the movement that we were exploring were movements of rituals, because rituals tie us back to heritage and culture. They give us a routine, stability, and they help us process things. So we were just thinking about our own rituals and how that ties us back to our family, and then that brought us into memories. You'll see a cloth where that kind of resembles, to me anyways, how we're all kind of tied together. It's a very long piece of cloth, maybe 50 feet, I want to say, maybe even longer, and it's also very heavy, so that our stories are all entwined together in this cloth in some way, shape, or form. And for me, fruit is a part of my family and how my dad always prepares and cuts the fruit for us. And so we were peeling oranges on stage, and so that became a ritual. And there, of course, then the scent became part of the process as well as it unfolded throughout the dance piece. We're creating a space and experience, and so that in itself offers a platform to share. And so that's part of what we are hoping to do, is to invite people into a space where they can engage, they can reflect, and they can take away something. I think that what we try to offer is an invitation to a dialogue, an invitation for reflection. We really resonated with this story. We hope you do too. And so I think maybe, if anything, that would be the takeaway, is that they can, they connected somehow, and that they are engaged somehow, and they have an experience that they'll walk away with, that they'll remember, or, want to explore more, or want to enter a dialogue into in the future, with us, with other people, with themselves, so all those things. I think that would be our ultimate goal, if we ever had one, for our audience.
Hispanic cultural traditions are a huge part of the Southwest Detroit community. That's where a dance troupe named Ballet Folklorico de Detroit is keeping a unique style of Mexican dance alive and bringing awareness to the rich Latino culture. One Detroit contributor, Deja Moss, visited the group to learn more about this Mexican dance tradition.
Our mission is to emphasize, or to bring to Southwest Detroit and Michigan and our community an awareness of the Mexican folkloric culture, like the Mexican dancing and its traditions.
Folklorico is alive in Mexico. It's not over here. And so one of our missions, right, our students predominantly have Mexican heritage. They're Americans, but they have Mexican heritage, and we want to give them a sense of pride in their culture. They can't experience it here. They have to go to Mexico to experience it, so we kind of try to bring it here so that way they can be like, oh, this is what it's like, to be over there and to experience all of this stuff. So we're trying to give them like, oh, have pride. Especially in these days and times, it doesn't feel good a lot of times in the news and everything to be Hispanic.
If you've ever gone to a Mexican folkloric performance, that you'll see the girls wear, or the performers wear different costumes. Like one time they might have a big dress on, another time a small dress on. That's because all the states of Mexico and regions within those states all have different styles of dance. So, and with those different styles, sometimes there was an influence, like an indigenous influence or a Spanish influence, and it's very serious, the keeping those traditions alive and not changed. So there's a whole culture behind it. Like if you're doing this type, like right now we're learning Sinaloa, in Sinaloa Mestizo, and there's different posture, there's different ways to do the dresses, there's different ways, the steps, everything is unique to that.
The role that dance plays in Mexican culture, there's really three, right? It's recreation, because it's fun to dance, right? Everybody goes and they love to dance. It's educational because you're preserving the traditions and the culture, right? Because it can still, like, if they weren't like making a concentrated effort to preserve it, right, it could change. It could just change. So it's educational. And the third thing is that it's good for your health. So anyone can join Ballet Folklorico de Detroit, right? One of the first things I ask people, especially if they're not Mexican, right? They're like, oh, well, I'm not Mexican. I was like, well, do you like Mexican food, right? And most of the time, because Mexican food is so good, they say, yes, I love Mexican food. And I'm like, but you're not Mexican. So why do you have to be Mexican to love Mexican dance?
We've been part of the Ballet Folklorico de Detroit for 6 months. I like being a student because there's like so many kids there, because in our other dance group that we were in, there was like not that much kids, so I like being like part of like the group of kids that are in this group. What most connects me to the Mexican culture is the movement, because there's like these different types of movements with like putting your skirt really high or like low, stuff like that.
I've been a part of the dance group six years. Before I joined the dance group, I did not know much about the dances and the culture. What inspired me to join the dance group is watching my sister dance and how she was having fun.
I've been in the group 7 years ago. My favorite part of being part of it is getting to dance, getting to perform, and getting to know new places.
So we really want the crowd to feel like if they're watching us perform Sinaloa Mestizo, that they're in Sinaloa watching a performance from the people in Mexico doing the dance. So that's what I want. I want to transport them to Mexico, and so they can experience it. And then they'll be in awe, like, oh my God, I just went to Mexico in these 3 minutes on stage. When we're dancing on stage, we're really trying to keep these traditions alive. And there's people here who haven't experienced it, who, even though they know Southwest Detroit has this vibrant Mexican culture, right, they don't know it. So when they come in, they see us, I really want to impact them like, yes, Southwest Detroit, there's this culture that's alive here, right? And that when they come and they see us, they can really feel it, right? When they go to one of our shows, they feel Southwest Detroit. Like, oh yeah, this is why Southwest, they always talking about Mexican town, because it's there, that we're there, you know?
That will do it for this week's One Detroit. Thanks for watching. We'll now leave you with a performance by Teimate, Institute for Black Dance and Culture, from Detroit Performs, live from Marygrove.
From Delta faucets to Behr paint, Masco Corporation is proud to deliver products that enhance the way consumers all over the world experience and enjoy their living spaces. Masco, serving Michigan communities since 1929. Support for this program is provided by the Cynthia and Edsel Ford Fund for Journalism at Detroit Public TV, the Kresge Foundation.
The DTE Foundation is a proud sponsor of Detroit Public TV, among the state's largest foundations committed to Michigan-focused giving. We support organizations that are doing exceptional work in our state. Visit dtefoundation.com to learn more.
Nissan Foundation, and viewers like you.